necessary for the treatment of cerebral palsy? The answer is obvious, yes. These, these are my references, radiographics and brain, written by Annie Osborne. There are many definitions, but mostly followed definitions like cerebral palsy, previously called static encephalopathy, describes a group of permanent disorder of the development of movement and posture causing activity limitation that are attributed to non-progressive. The term non-progressive is very important, and disturbances which have occurred in the developing fetal or infant brain. Nowadays, it extends up to 4 years. So, its prevalence, it is common problem with prevalence about 1 to 3 per thousand live birth. It's the most common disability of childhood. Male is slightly greater affected than female, that is 1.4:1 is the prevalence. The etiology, most of the times it is in the injuries to the infant's brain during birth or after birth. It may also happen after birth up to 4 years. And birth asphyxia, Apgar score is usually, you can see a severely depressed baby, 0 to 3, moderately depressed, 4 to 6, and excellent condition is 7 to 10. That is the Apgar score. This is not my domain. Anyway, the other causes like metabolic disorders, Leslie-Hunt syndrome, deficiency of arginase, causes spastic diplegia due to intake of certain toxins by mother during pregnancy, usually accidentally ingested like methyl mercury, infection during perinatal period, intrauterine infections like TORCH, and cerebrovascular accident, CVA, rapid loss of blood supply to the brain due to ischemia caused by thrombosis, arterial embolization, and hemorrhage. These occurs after birth, of course, and usually up to the age of 4 years we will consider. Now the types of cerebral palsy. This is this left side of cerebral cortex, the precentral gyrus. If it affects, then the opposite side will be affected. That is, this is called hemiplegia. If both sides are affected, then that is diplegia. If the affection is much more of the cerebral cortex, then it is quadriplegia, and these are the dyskinetic because of the basal ganglia are affected on both sides. Dyskinetic athetoid type, this is dystonic type, and in this ataxic type, the cerebellum is usually affected. So these are the types usually we found. Correlation with site of injury, that is pyramidal. If pyramidal site is affected, then spastic CP. If extrapyramidal, then athetoid type, cerebellar, ataxic type, the previous picture shown nicely, and mixed type if spastic and athetoid CP. Now the patterns of brain injury. Patterns of brain injury, how the vascular supply changes with maturation and affects the pattern of brain injury in HIE, that is hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. The premature neonatal brain has a ventriculopetal vascular pattern, that is like this, from this side to this side, that is ventriculopetal pattern. And hypoperfusion occurs from periphery to center. And the term whether in the term, in fact, it is just opposite, that is ventriculofugal, from ventricle towards the periphery. So the diagnosis, First thing, physical examination, history taking is very important, then neurologic assessment, magnetic resonance imaging, ultrasound, both prenatal, natal and natal and postnatal also, computed tomography, CT scan, electroencephalogram, EEG, electromyogram or nerve conduction studies, laboratory studies, screen and genetic metabolic problem, additional tests, vision impairment, hearing impairment, speech delays and impairments, intellectual disabilities, and so on. So it will not, I will be not discussing the symptomatology and the care part, but will be focusing on hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy, which is the main culprit in majority of the causes. Hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy is an important cause of permanent damage to the central nervous system cells that may result in neonatal death or be manifested later as a cerebral palsy or mental deficiency. From Nicholson textbook. 25 to 30% of survivors are left with permanent neurodevelopmental abnormalities, cerebral palsy and mental retardation. Imaging findings in hypoxic ischemic injury are highly variable and depend on a number of factors, including brain maturity, severity, duration of insult, type and timing of imaging timing of imaging studies. Hypoperfusion injury in preterm infants, that is prematurity, mild to moderate hypotension. The most common location for injury to the premature brain is the periventricular white matter, with ischemic parenchyma manifesting as periventricular leukomalacia, that is PVL. The most common location for injury is in severe hypotension is cerebellum, brainstem, and basal ganglia because of high metabolic demand of these areas. So, infarcts in these regions and associated germinal matrix hemorrhage occurs. Radiological tests, the most important is the MRI, can detect the whole spectrum of hypoxic ischemic injury, hemorrhage, cysts, leukomalacia, everything, white matter paucity. And USG can detect hemorrhage and sometimes leukomalacia. CT can detect only hemorrhage and late leukomalacia, that is after some times. MRI is the one that is stops off. So, these are the MRI pictures, MRI brain in 2 patients showing periventricular leukomalacia. These are the T2 weighted images, and this is FLAIR image, that is also high T2 image. And you can see the periventricular leukomalacia. In this FLAIR, you can perceive it very well that these are the regions where hypoxic injury occurs. These are the periventricular leukomalacic zones. Germinal matrix hemorrhage, you can see these are the areas of germinal matrix hemorrhage. It also extends into the ventricle. Hypoperfusion injury in term infants, that is mature baby. Mild to moderate hypotension that occurs in the watershed zones between the anterior and middle cerebral arteries and between the middle and posterior cerebral arteries and the border zones. Lateral thalami, and in severe hypotension, lateral thalami, posterior putamen, hippocampi, brainstem, corticospinal tract, and the sensorimotor cortex are also involved. This is diffusion weighted image. Diffusion restriction is the ischemic areas. This is the caudate nucleus, and this is the lentiform nucleus. And this is precentral cortex, and this is occipital cortex. And this MRI image of diffusion is very important to catch the early changes. Role of diffusion MRI in early ischemia. You see, these are the partial neonatal hypoxic injury in 2 days old term infant who experienced seizures shortly after birth. The T1 weighted and T2 weighted images were normal. Nothing was abnormal. Then we do it, the diffusion weighted image, you can see the changes jolly well. These are the diffusion restricted areas to frontal cortex and also in the occipital area. So, diffusion weighted image is the game changer. Diffusion weighted image is the most sensitive sequence in the first 24 hours of life, of the injury, Can pick up changes when T1 and T2 may be normal. Abnormalities in diffusion weighted image peak to 3 to 5 days and then pseudo-normalize. That means diffusion weighted changes are not seen. In that case, we see sometimes by the first week of life when changes may become perceptible on T1 and T2 weighted image as posterior limb of internal capsule physicity. That means it becomes inconspicuous. So, diffusion weighted image is the most valuable sequence in our institute from in the first week of life. These are the diffusion tensor imaging that applies the fractional anisotropy, which makes this side the girth is less of the corticospinal tract than this side. So, this side will be hemiplegic. DTI showing reduced corticospinal tracts on right side, child would be of hemiplegic type. That means his or her left side will be hemiplegic. Another picture, that means diplegic variety. Here the corticospinal tract is not extends up to the cortex. It is stunted after this. So this is a diplegic type, and here this side is all right and this side goes up to this. The cortex, this part is absent. So this is hemiplegic type. So let's work together for future. Thank you all for patient hearing.
Is there any question answer session?
Yeah, if you have any question, you can ask, and Dr. Deepak will be here to answer you.
Yeah, my question is, MRI is obviously better than CT because it gives much better resolution of the soft tissue. Now, do you have any instance where you can use a contrast like gadolinium for MRI in cases of cerebral palsy? Does it give any advantage?
Yes, gadolinium has advantage in cases of infective lesions or something tumorous lesion like that. But most of the times these are only up to 4 years of age. So one issue is the anesthesia. Second issue is anesthetic. Is contrast hazard is also there, though rare, but not very helpful. Only DTI is very helpful most of the time, diffusion weighted, because most of the time it is ischemic. And in ischemia, it is not very necessary to give contrast. Only in infective cases, we can give contrast and that will give some result. positive
Can
result.
I ask a question?
Yeah.
Can I ask a suggestion also, rather?
Yeah.
To, rather it is my suggestion and proposal or a question to Dr. Shantanu Hussain, Honorary State Secretary, IMA Bengal State Branch.
Yeah.
We are organizing, you have invited us, our secretary has invited all the IMA leaders from all over Bengal, and a good number of IMA members are here. I am from North 24 Parganas,
North?
district president.
24 Parganas.
I request and my suggestion is that can it be organized this type of gathering or awareness program in the rural area and other districts also, because it is not a problem of only Calcutta. So আমার বাংলায় বলি এরকম অ্যাওয়ারনেস প্রোগ্রাম সেরেব্রাল পলসি নিয়ে মানুষের মধ্যে অ্যাওয়ারনেস খুবই কম, কিন্তু এর গভীরতা অনেক। যেমন আমরা থ্যালাসেমিয়া, ব্লাড ডোনেশন ইত্যাদি অনেক কিছুই করছি, ডেঙ্গু নিয়ে একটু আগে প্রোগ্রাম করলাম। Can it be organized in periphery, suppose in North 24 Pargana, Howrah, Hooghly, any other districts, and it should be done? What is your proposal that with IMA, can it be done?
Yes, of course, why not? If you can take initiative, we can start it from right now, North 24 Pargana as well, no issue. And on behalf of IMA, as because IMA is having its branches across the 20 states of our Bengal, it's highly possible if the local branches of IMA take initiatives. No problem, it can be done. And I think this August House gives you the responsibility to hold the program for the first time in North 24 Pargana.
We shall organize, we shall arrange a sponsor, host everything in North 24 Pargana, but can it be done with Vishwabandhan also? Let us entangle them and IMA.
Definitely, we will be speaking to Mr. Mitro.
You will speak with Mr.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
and
If
first,
he is
first
available-
meeting will be at North 24
And
Pargana.
well in advance, we are inviting Dr. Tapan Diwar for giving this presentation at that program.
Yes, yes, yes. With the doctors and the public also.
So you are being invited in advance.
হ্যালো প্লিজ আমি একটা কথা বলছি, যেটা আমাদের তপন বলছিল, যেটা ফরগেট অ্যাবাউট জেনারেল পাবলিক, ডাক্তারদের মধ্যে অ্যাওয়ারনেস দরকার। সেরিব্রাল পলসির প্রিভেনশন ডাক্তারদের মধ্যে নেই। ফার্স্ট IMA করুক, আগে ডাক্তারদের, একজন ডাক্তার জানলে 1000টা লোক জানবে তার থেকে। এবং আর্লি ডায়াগনোসিস অফ সেরিব্রাল পলসি উইচ ইজ ভেরি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, সেটাই হয় না, অনেক লেট ডায়াগনোসিস হচ্ছে এই ব্যাপারটাতে। এবং Dr. Diwar, you must agree that all these radiological findings, whether MRI or CT, whatever, these only help in the differential diagnosis to exclude other diseases.
Right.
This is not specific for cerebral palsy.
Right.
Cerebral palsy is not a radiological diagnosis.
Yeah.
To excluding the other diseases, we come to the, the diagnosis of cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One question, please. May I ask? I am Dr. Nirmal Pole from Calcutta IMA branch. In case of herpes zoster affection, in case of cerebral palsy cases, is there any more ischemic changes in the, like the caudate nucleus or putamen or basal ganglia you have seen, your experience, sir?
Pardon, please.
In case of herpes zoster affection,
Herpes zoster, yeah.
any documentation about the more ischemic changes affection there in the caudate nucleus or putamen or basal ganglia, your experience?
In fact, herpes zoster, not that is herpes simplex encephalitis is an entity which usually affects the temporal lobe asymmetrically, temporal lobe, recti, gyri, and some areas, insular cortex, like that, asymmetrically involved, and that will affect the patients both motor and as well as there might be epilepsy in future. Epileptic seizure may persist again. Seizure may occur in future, those cases. Thank you. Thank you for your question. Anything more? Yeah.
Hello, I am Dr. Siddhartha Chaudhary.
Yeah.
I am just asking you, can you tell me why the male childs are affected?
More affected.
More affected.
That
Is
I
there any-
don't know. Honestly speaking, I don't know. If anybody know, please let me know.
Is there any relation between the virus
Yeah.
infection, now is very common in Calcutta,
Uh-huh.
with the growing mother and newborn,
Yeah.
and this disease?
virus infection like what virus? Herpes simplex is commonly common disease, no doubt. And any other virus like, oh, this common virus.
Yes, cerebral
virus,
palsy.
Cerebral palsy can occur. Of course, can occur. But no definite affection like JE encephalitis occurs in the thalamus, bilateral thalamic involvement, or this type of herpes simplex usually occurs in the temporal lobe, like that. The specific problem
Is not yet known.
not yet known, but differs from virus to virus. That is.
Okay, thank you.
That is it.
So if there is no more question, we can conclude this session, we can proceed for the next one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, thank you.